Shabbat shalom, my friends. Well, the spring sacred season is just about over. That season stretching from Yom HaShoah to Yom HaZikaron to Chag HaAtzmaut, from Holocaust Remembrance Day to Memorial for all of those who fell in defense of Israel to Yom HaAtzmaut, the 73rd anniversary of the founding of Israel. Yom Huledet Sameach, happy birthday Israel. Other things are going on around us as well, of course. April 17th will be the 20th day of the counting of the Omer. Lag BaOmer is not that far away, with bonfires and with haircuts for 3-year-olds, just around the corner. And Muslims are in the midst of observing Ramadan, so we offer them Ramadan Mubarak. The holy season for Jews is apparently over, but not quite. On Friday, April 16th, I will be addressing a group of high school students who belong to their school's German club about my understanding of the Shoah. The challenges will be enormous, especially given the reality that many Jewish teens cannot themselves identify the core realities of the Shoah. Studies indicate that a large number of Jewish kids don't even have the ability to identify Auschwitz in Jewish history. And then a week later, Rabbi John Rossoff and I will be interviewed on a podcast about the book that we co-edited, Deepening the Dialogue Between Israeli and American Jews. The timing for that particular podcast could not be more perfect. My friend and teacher, Rabbi Professor Yehoyada Amir of HUC in Jerusalem, recently published a beautiful meditation about Israel. With apologies to Yoki, I'd like to share my own inadequate, brief summary of his meditation. Quote, "In the land of Israel, the Jewish people was born. This is where our birth story was forever linked to the story of freedom. This is where we bequeath to all of humankind a set of ethical standards that emerge from out of our sacred texts. This is the place from which Jewish mysticism, Jewish law, Jewish philosophy, and Jewish poetry draw their nourishment. This is the place where our hopes of redemption, even in the darkest of hours, were always to be found. This is where we have returned to build a Jewish and democratic state. And this is where we daily struggle to build a state worthy of its own heritage. Yom Huledet Sameach Yisrael, happy birthday, may you live forever." Our combined Sedras this week are Tazria and Metzora, Leviticus 12:1 to 15:33, 2 Sedras read together. These texts are not eagerly anticipated by those of us who are expected to deliver regular Divrei Torah on each Shabbat. To put it more simply, these texts can actually be dreaded by preachers. The subject matter deals with menstruation, nocturnal emissions, skin diseases of all kinds, and a mold that infects buildings and garments. During the 1980s and 1990s, these Sedras were the foundations for many a worthy sermon about AIDS. Last year and this year, we most certainly have heard and we will hear many words of wisdom and consolation woven through the nightmare horrors of COVID-19. Mary Douglas takes a deeper and broader view. She sees a trifecta in the Torah text, a trifecta. Mount Sinai, the Tabernacle, and the human body. Mount Sinai was a place of encounter between human beings and the divine. Improperly handled, that encounter is assuredly dangerous and could even prove to be fatal. There is a need for purification. Purification not just of the flesh, but of the spirit. Ancient superstitions, the fear of demons, the deification of physical objects or even of people must be set aside. Mount Sinai, dangerous, holy. The tabernacle was no different. God was to be met there. God was to be served there. So purification, external as well as internal, was essential. The highest forms of purification required of those who would bring the sacrifices essential for symbolizing, for expressing the relationship, the covenant between God and God's people. Mount Sinai, the tabernacle, but also our bodies. We have basic human needs. Those needs will make us impure, in need of cleansing and of purification. We have behaviors, acts that make us unworthy, impure. We need the particulars of atonement, of cleansing, of purification. And we are creators. We human beings are creators, even as God is the creator. Sexuality, menstruation, nocturnal emissions are part of our creative process. As with many elements of the sacred, our creativity connects us both with the pure and the impure. We need cleansing. We need purification. We need the cycle of rebirth symbolized by the mikveh. We have illnesses that render us impure. We need pathways toward cleansing and forgiveness. As a people that has rejected the dominant death culture of Egypt, we nevertheless regularly encounter death. Death defiles. We need pathways for a return to life. Our bodies, our families, the societies and civilizations we build are sacred because they are access points between ourselves and God. In the words of Mary Douglas, separations made in the name of purity enact the humble bowing down of God's creatures before the overwhelming majesty of Adonai, close quote. So at Sinai, so in the tabernacle, and so in the most intimate care of our own bodies. By the way, Douglas quickly dispenses with the notion that Metzora means leprosy, Hansen's disease. It doesn't mean leprosy. The best translation of Metzora seems to be a scaly disease. Many possibilities there. Our final word today will be given to Yitz Greenberg. Yitz sees the underlying theme uniting our Sedras to be a celebration of life, and in that he's not too far different from what Mary Douglas is saying. Life and death are in a constant struggle for control of us. The forces of decay, of disillusion, of disease, of death are all around us. We don't see them, but we certainly are aware of them. For Greenberg, life and purity are intermingled. Anything that inhibits the creation of life is impure. Death is the ultimate expression of the cessation of creativity, and thus the impurity that accompanies death is very severe indeed. The Torah's goal, according to Douglas and to Greenberg, is to free us from the grasp of death for as long as possible. The rules of Torah want to exclude from the performance of sacred acts any who are exhibiting signs of having encountered death or of life denial. As our teachers much later on created their vision of messianic times, it is no mystery why those times are celebrated precisely because they will lift all of humanity out of death's grasp. Until then, each of us inhabits a not yet holy existence. Life is filled with potentiality. The laws and rituals of our Sedras this week reflect a strong desire for the holy, for life, to emerge triumphant. And so do the loving families and societies and civilizations that we create. Shabbat shalom. Have a wonderful week. And again, happy birthday, Israel.